Welcome back to another Mackem in the Middle podcast after another Sunderland League game. And to put it straight, if you were to go back and listen to the Charlton podcast that we did, you probably wouldn't really notice any difference in the things that we're about to say, because the game was pretty much identical. A game that we somehow didn't win. Obviously, it finished 0-0 away to Lincoln City on Saturday. Just again, one of them days that we've said so many times, Kyle, where on another day we win 6-0, but on this day we drop 2 points essentially.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you're stuck with just me today because I don't know who else would really take time out of their day to talk about another
I don't blame them.
0-0 draw. But I think there's a lot of obviously the frustration, just like you said, dropping the 2 points. That's going to be kind of the leading factor in all this. And it's just unfortunate because there was a lot of really good positives in there as well.
That's the thing, like,
but in the context,
there's going to be people talking about this result, and you'd be like, "Oh, it's 2 points drop, this, that, and the other," and you think, "Well, right, where's all the negatives?" But I would genuinely struggle to pick out a negative from the game, other than the fact we didn't score.
Right, and just kind of look at the context of it as well. Like these string of results that we've had under Alex Neil so far, if they weren't preceded by the 2 losses against Doncaster and was it Cheltenham or whoever, whoever,
and Cheltenham,
the 2 losses where we had the interim manager and things like that. If this run of form wasn't, it just sucks, man. It really does, because if we had picked up points during that, we'd be in kind of more of a solid playoff position, and we'd look at these results and be like, you know what, going away to anyone really and getting a point and playing well, you can't argue with that. Like, those are good results, but it's just in the context of seeing where everyone else is at, and now we're measuring what opponents' games, like who they're playing and the run in. It's just really unfortunate because there's a lot of good positives from this, and I truly do think on any other day of the year we would have won probably 2-3-0, but in this scenario, the posts got in the way of that.
Yeah, and obviously the table is very tight, and it is quite disappointing, I suppose, is probably an understatement to think. When I think we entered the year top of the table with games in hand, things were looking good, winning games, playing well, scoring goals, not keeping clean sheets, however, but it doesn't really matter if you're winning games. And then now Sunderland are literally playing for 6th place in League One, essentially. Plymouth are in 4th, and they have a game in hand on us. They've already 2 games above us, essentially, with them being 4 points. Oxford are 2 points above us. We have them still to play. That will be a big game, and a game that we definitely need to win. Play crap, just get the 3 points. That is an important win. Sheffield Wednesday, just below us, point below us, they have a game in hand. So it is becoming very tight in the table, with only, seven games to play for us, 8 games to play for some of them, I believe. But you can say we played well. You can say we deserve to win. But at this stage in the season, that doesn't matter. You have to win.
I have to, yeah, because you're just looking at the table, just like you mentioned, and you look at a team like Plymouth, which a lot of people are talking about right now, and they've won five in a row. I mean, we are inches away from also having 5 wins on the bounce as well, right? I mean, if you look at the Charlton game, I mean, there were so many close opportunities, and then yesterday, it's just, if you turn those very fine margins into goals, I mean, we have just as good form. We're sitting 4th, and it's just so close. And of course, it has to be us, right? Why do we have to be the team that is like straddling that line? And it's just really there's enough time left. It'd be different if there's only like 2 or 3 games left, which we are kind of rapidly approaching. But now is really the time where like we can't settle for good performance. And I think Alex Neil put it perfectly. He said, I'd rather play terribly and somehow get a goal off someone's backside and have it go in.
It's like you said in the interview after the game, we've scored 5 in the last 2 games, and I don't think we've played well at all in them 2 games. We play very well against Lincoln. We create so many chances, defend well. I think there was 1 chance Lincoln had in the game towards the end where Patterson had to make a save, and we've come away with less goals, less points, and it's I think, like Alex Neil said, a few weeks ago, probably against Charlton, it's probably one of the most frustrating things as a manager, as a player, and as a fan as well, really, when you played well, you've done everything you can, but it just didn't you didn't get the rubber green on the day, and we'll get into it as well. But a few decisions seem to have went against us as well.
Oh my gosh, it's just, and I do hate the refs. I just do it, and it doesn't really matter what level because I know they're even bad in the championship and things like that. But it's yeah, we'll get on to that. But I agree. I mean, in this game, and I think in Charlton as well, we had kind of a decision that didn't go our way either. And it's those types of things where we earned in the case yesterday. I do entirely think we earned a penalty, especially with Patrick Roberts, and we
Yeah.
just weren't given it. And it's when you do everything else right. It'd be one thing we were playing terribly and it was like that was our only saving grace. It was like, oh, we could get a penalty here. It's like no, like in the course of play, like we absolutely earned that, and it's so unfortunate to have not been rewarded that, but here we are.
Yeah. And I suppose we'll just get into it now because there really isn't that much to talk about the game. That Patrick Roberts one where he's
Mm-hmm.
pulled down in the box, it's not given. And I say this every time when something like that happens. Anywhere else on the pitch, that's a foul. And based off
Right.
that, it should have been a penalty. But there seems to be a kind of idea in football and in refereeing essentially that the foul has to be a little bit more to be given if it's inside the box, but it shouldn't be like that.
Right. Exactly. And Patrick Roberts, just to go off of that, I mean, he was absolutely incredible yesterday. Absolutely. Like, that's definitely the player we saw. And seeing him kind of really dominate the game. And that's the thing, because in that position, if he received it, which is a really good pass, really good kind of reverse pass right back to him, why would he go down? Right. Like maybe the ref was thinking, oh, he's trying to sell it, but it's like he was in on goal. Like, why would he? It wouldn't benefit him to at all to risk not getting that call and have it, go to a penalty versus just taking the shot on himself. And he literally couldn't because he was dragged down.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just the way he played just all day yesterday was just incredible and really provides the catalyst. But one thing I've seen, and we can kind of get on to more of this too, is this game, and I think Charlton as well, we're just, especially this game yesterday, was just screaming out for somebody to just take the game just by the scruff of the neck and say, "We're winning it. Like I don't care what it takes. We're winning this." And I do think Alex Pritchard would have been that guy, right? Even in the bad games that we played when we dropped those two games, kind of in between the Alex Neil regime, the only person who was scoring for us was Alex Pritchard, whether it was free kicks and things like that. And yesterday's game, I was just like, oh my god, he would have carved up the middle of the field, and I'm confident we would have scored multiple goals with him in there. But Patrick Roberts at least showed the ability to be like, I don't really know where he played, to be honest, like what position, because he was all over the
Yeah.
pitch. But he was incredible, and we're going to need him to really flourish like that in our final 7 games. But really, that penalty decision, and I go back to think too, if that was at the Stadium of Light, do you think that would have been called, right? Because we had the home fans there. But just knowing how crap these refs are, I still think that they come into this thinking, I'm not going to get intimidated by Big Me and Sunderland and all their fans. Like, that's just how it feels sometimes. Because I think any other team in any other league would have gotten the penalty decision there.
Yeah. And it's like I say, if that was 10 yards outside the box, it's definitely 100% given as a foul. And I think there was one on Ross Stewart as well. I can't remember
Oh
exactly what
yeah,
it was, but
yeah. I mean, he was just getting mugged all game,
yeah.
And it's just, and like I said, if this was just like if Patrick Roberts hadn't been playing as well, and because he was just skinning any defender he was on,
Mm,
and that almost like leads to it's like you got to give him the benefit of the doubt there because he's been frying them all game. Like
yeah.
he's going to make that move. He's going to be in a position where he can score, and he was just absolutely prevented from doing so. And yeah, the ref just failed, and he's staring right at it. And the side referees as well. Like anyone could have made that call, and I'm sure even the fans in the league were like, "Yeah, we probably got away with that." Like, it's just why is it always us? Why does it always
Yeah.
feel like it's us at least, man? It's
It
just
is.
that's what's frustrating.
Yeah. But like I say, Sunderland had so many chances in the game. Jack Clark in the first half, I think it was.
Yep.
2 or 3 very good chances that went just wide. Some of them harder than the other. I think there was one where I think it might have been Luke O'Nien crossed the ball into the box and it was just about to bounce before he hit
Right.
it. So it is quite a difficult shot to kind of take on and hit the target with, but it's just so close. Inches wide of the post with that one. There was again similar one for Clark there. Second half, Corey Evans, probably the first time I've actually seen him in the opposition half since he signed for us. Got forward, got in a good position,
Yep.
and that's probably the biggest chance of the game. And when you look at where we are in the league, how important it is that we get 3 points, chances like that are ones that you absolutely have to take.
Right, and I know where you stand with Corey Evans, and I'm not far from it either. You know, I do think he's just one of those players where we're just gonna have to accept that he's gonna be in the starting lineup for whatever Alex Neil sees in him, the experience piece. He did have some really nice plays, I would say, defensively.
Hmm.
But this was a game where we needed someone to just put the ball in the back of the net. And, you know, I think he made, I don't know, looking back, I can't tell if that was what his intention was because he did have to play the corners, right? The keeper was kind of dead center. He just had to put it away to the left or the right, and he chose to the left. And it was just a little too much on the spin, and it just went wide. But that was the one, too. You're watching that play happen. He made the correct run. He spaced himself out perfectly just to be, able to receive that pass. And then I was like, if it could have just been literally anyone else except for Corey Evans to be on the receiving end, it would have been a goal. But it just wasn't in the cards for us yesterday. And you're right with Jack Clark as well. I think him and Sirkin yesterday were a huge bright spot. They have a really good partnership now, and they were giving Sirkin just acres of space, and good for him to just take those long runs and kind of make something happen. But I think too with Clark, he's in those positions, but he's also on the field to score. And when your job is to kind of put those away, and he didn't, like that is kind of a mark against him. But I still really like him. I think he's fantastic, and I think just the wings and literally, really, there's not a bad performance to pick out from yesterday. It's just a lot of people had the opportunity to make that game their own and get the 3 points, and nobody stepped up for it.
Yeah. The one positive, I suppose, from the last however many games, I can't think off the top of my head, is we are a lot more organised defensively now. I think
Yes.
that's 4 clean sheets in the last 8 games since Alex Neil came in. And obviously one of them was away to Wigan in a game that no one really expected us to, well, not to certainly win, and not to win by the margin that we did. They didn't really trouble us in that game. Lincoln, again, didn't really trouble us. Charlton didn't really trouble us. Just disappointing that we've dropped 4 points in them 2 games that I mentioned there. But, 4 clean sheets from the last 8 games. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think prior to that, it was something like 4 clean sheets in the last 16, I think it was.
Wow.
So you can see the improvement. And obviously that's with Callum Doyle having been rested as well. We're playing a midfielder at centre back and a left back at centre back at the moment, and it's working. As far as you can see, anyway. So, as the saying goes, I suppose, if you keep them clean sheets, you can't lose games. But that doesn't make a difference if you're not going to score goals.
Right. And that's kind of what I was talking about with, if you go back and you look at, the Doncaster and Cheltenham are really the 2 games that kind of stand out, those 2 losses. If we were just in a more solid position and not so concerned about making the playoffs, we'd look at these performances and be like, you know what? I'm fine with that. I'm fine with taking a point there. And we do really look much better defensively, defensively, just way more organized. And what do you think that is? Obviously, Alex Neil has come in, but it's not as though he's changed things drastically or put different players in. But why do you think all of a sudden we look
I
so
think
much
it's just
better?
a system. I think
You're right.
We aren't playing centre backs at centre back, which I think suits the way we play, ironically, because
Fair enough.
in the games
Yeah.
that we play, I'm not going to sit there and go and have a look at them, but I'd guarantee in the last probably 8 games that we've played since Alex Neil came in, we've probably dominated possession in.
Right.
You look at the Charlton one, you look at the Fleetwood one, the Crew one. With Winchester at the back, who is, naturally midfielder, he can play the ball out, he can get forward, he can make them forward passes. Sirkin as a fullback, he can get forward, get a ball in the box, play that forward pass, run forward with the ball. We didn't have that when we were playing with, natural defenders, I don't think, really.
Right. And so this kind of gives them a little bit more license. Yeah. I think you're probably right. And teams, I think, are not punishing us in the same way that they were. And a lot of the goals that we conceded were just like daft balls over the top that just
Yeah.
somehow, and I think being more structured teams just aren't willing to try that because you're essentially just giving possession back, right? Because we're
Yeah.
organized. If they try that, we're just going to get the ball and we're going to,
I
retain
think that added
possession.
pace at the back as well is a big difference as well. When you've
Oh,
got
yeah.
Callum Doyle and Bailey Wright and, previously Tom Flanagan or whoever else would play there, they're not the quickest players in the world. But Sirkin and Winchester do have a yard of pace about them.
Right. Yeah. No. So yeah, you're definitely right there. But yeah, it's I think frustration is just an understatement. It's just one of those where, like I said, I don't think we could pick out a bad performance, right? And it's just one of those fine margin games where we've done everything right to feel good about this game, but it's just we look at our remaining fixtures, we look at the other teams around us, and now it's just it's gonna be an interesting one. But if we manage to make playoffs, there's no doubt in my mind that we're gonna be in really good form, and I really do like our chances in the playoffs, but it's just yeah, I don't know. Maybe we can get onto that, in a bit, but
I
it's
think
just
the
one of
thing
those.
that gives me hope in the playoffs is Alex Neil is a manager that I think he even said it himself. He takes every game on a game by game basis. He'll not look at these next 3 games and say, right, we want 7 points, however we get them. He'll look at the next game and say, we want 3 points. And then once we've
Right.
got them 3 points, he'll look at the next game and say, right, we want another 3 points. And then I think that is the kind of mentality you need if you're going to be in the playoffs. You can't look ahead to the final and think, right, we could be playing these, need to do something here. If you take every game as a game that you just need to win, ultimately it's a very simple saying, but you'll end up winning it. And I think looking at the teams that are in the playoffs now, if I can get it up on my phone quickly, I see MK Dons are currently in third. I do have a suspicion that they will actually finish second. And I think Rotherham could end up being in the playoffs, which could be an interesting one. Obviously, we still have them to play. But you're looking at Plymouth, who have beat MK Dons, who I don't think we've beaten this season, but lost once, I believe. I think they've picked 4 points above us. Off us, I think it is. Oxford, top of my head, trying to remember what the score was in that reverse fixture.
Right. Yeah, because I know I got it pulled up. I know the first game was really early in the season. Yeah, it was 1-1
Yeah.
in December. Yeah.
And obviously looking at Sheffield Wednesday, we got battered off them and then battered them. Wickham, they're only a point below us as well. Obviously in 8th place, we beat them. So you looking at the teams that are in there. If Rotherham are to finish in the playoffs, obviously we've only played them once and got battered off them, so you couldn't really decide what we're going to do against them.
Right.
But they're all teams that we're capable of beating.
Right, and it's and the frustrating part is that we just have to get there. We
Yeah.
the playoffs really in all it really does start now. Like every game now is kind of that a playoff scenario. And I think it's good that we got the Rotherham match postponed, especially because congrats to Ross Stewart as well getting the call up. That's really cool, and it's just cool to
Has
see
that actually
that.
been confirmed yet? I've seen it on
I
Twitter. I haven't actually seen
yeah,
anyone actually
well,
tweet anything official about it.
I mean, if it's on Twitter, it has to be official,
I
right? I
suppose so,
mean,
yeah.
I thought this
That's
worked
how it
that way.
works.
Yeah. But either way, he deserves it. Regardless, he'd be in my Scottish starting 11, absolutely. But I do think that's good to kind of get that break because especially right now they are in kind of bad form, and so I think they would be really gunning to pick up a result. You don't know now. We play them second to last, and who knows where we're both going to be at that point.
Yeah.
But so our next game is a little bit of ways off. It's April 2nd, so that's against Gillingham.
Yeah.
I mean that really has to be the. We really just need to continue the form that we've been on because in all reality we have been under really good form under Alex Neil. Just the luck just kind of didn't bounce our way, and that is absolute League One is where luck I think comes into play over just about any other league.
Yeah.
It's just
I think it's a tough one to kind of put your finger on, but it's just about finding a balance between not playing well and winning games and playing well and not winning games, which I'd imagine is a very difficult task to kind of identify why that is. When you play well against Charlton, play well against Lincoln, and just don't come away with the points, and then you don't really deserve to get anything against Fleetwood or Crewe, and you come away with 6. So it's a difficult one, but 2 weeks' time, obviously, this player is going to be coming back. I'm not actually sure where McGeady is, but Broadhead should be back again.
right.
That
Yeah,
seems to have
Broadhead's
rumbled
another
on.
one where you look at the game yesterday and you would put your money on him to find the back of the net,
Yeah.
And so it's just about what 2 weeks really, about what 12 days. He should be coming back, and yeah, McGeady would be an interesting one because I couldn't tell you maybe you as like a late sub,
Yeah.
but even then I as much as I do enjoy McGeady and especially what he's done for us and things like that, I don't know where he fits in. I don't know where he fits into the club, to be
I think
honest.
I think that's where he fit. I think he does fit in as a player that if you need a
A game
goal,
winner,
if you're
yeah,
chasing a
yeah,
game, 20 minutes left, you bring him on in that kind of Alex Pritchard role. Not necessarily for Alex Pritchard if he's playing, but to play alongside him.
yeah.
He can create something. He's a very similar player to Jack Clark in the sense that if you show him inside, he'll get a shot off, and McGeady has the experience to score. free kicks. He's a very good free kick taker, just like
True.
Pritchard is.
Yep.
And I think that's one thing that we've missed against Lincoln as well, is just that extra
Set piece.
quality from set pieces.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and so getting him back would be huge. And talk about, imagine the two subs we bring on to try to win a game are Defoe and McGeady.
Yeah.
And I think going back to the game yesterday, I think Defoe as well had some really good opportunities. And I was like, man, this could be the moment, where he kind of turns on, and he was just, inches wide of the post again. And so we're just kind of waiting for him to really kick on, because after Gillingham, really, I mean, you have Oxford, who's obviously in playoffs as well. At Shrewsbury, I think are pretty low. But then Plymouth,
On paper,
Rotherham,
of course, football's not played on paper, but on paper, Sunderland have probably the most favourable fixtures out of the top 8, really.
right? Because I think Plymouth right now are going through their kind of easier patch, and then I think it gets pretty rough for them as well.
Yeah.
And then who else? It would be Chef Wednesday, right? I mean, what is it? I mean, I can kind of pull them up real quick too. And
I think
don't have
the one good thing for Sunderland as well is a lot of the teams around us play each other. Obviously, we play
right.
Oxford. I think Sheffield Wednesday play Oxford. I think Plymouth play one of them too. So each team will drop points naturally, because both teams can't pick up 3 points in the same game, obviously. But unless Sunderland can turn these 0-0s or whatever scoreline into 3 points, it becomes somewhat irrelevant, I suppose.
Yeah, no, it really does. And it's hard because I think technically, we do control our own destiny in a weird way. I think just because, like, even though teams around us do have a game in hand here or there, it's just, I think it's who they play that kind of mathematically determines that we technically do still control our own destiny. But just knowing Sunderland, it's do we want to even do we want to have that fate in our own hands, because we've seen what we've done with it before. But this team does just feel different. It does feel like it's been the same way the last few seasons, but there is something about this team that does feel like they might be able to get in. And like I said, I do believe if we do make playoffs, I do believe we'll go up, because I think we have the team. Obviously, we have the team to do it. It's just right now is when we need a few results just barely go our way. Nothing crazy. But really, we just have to take care of it on our end. And it's just simple as that.
Yeah. Well, we're going to play ratings, because this is going to be a shorter one, but we'll go through it. Patterson, we'll start with him. Had nothing to do until that save that I mentioned right at the start, towards the end of the game. From close range header, very good save, and ultimately kept us in the game at the time, and obviously earned us the point in the end. So probably say 7 out of 10 for Patterson.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think because you look at clean sheets, and a big part of that is the goalie, right? You got to keep the ball in the back of net, and he's done that. I think he's done well. He's growing in confidence, so I think 7's pretty fair.
Yeah. Winchester, part of the back three, probably scored with 6. Didn't really, again, have anything to do defensively. A couple of times he got forward and probably could have done a little bit more with it. Kind of just kicked the ball into the box without any idea as to where he was actually putting it. But never did really anything wrong. So 6.
Yep. Yeah. If we could find the goal scoring Winchester that we had at the beginning of the season, that would be really nice, because, at least somebody could score. But yeah, I think he did well, but nothing. I think we'll get to the other players who I think did more on the back line. But yeah, I think 6. You can't fault him for that.
Yeah. Bailey Wright, Michael's favourite. I'd probably go with 7. And I think he's definitely more the Bailey Wright that we started to see when he first arrived at the club. Obviously, he went out of form a little bit, but he's back playing. He's back playing well, and I think the back three suits him as well. You can a little bit frustration when he gets the ball and just hoofs it. When he doesn't need to do that. I remember talking when I think he was playing right back for a few games, and we were talking about how well he was playing the ball out, how well he was moving forward with it. If he would kind of revert to that a little bit, that would benefit us, but can't be too critical on him, because I think he had a good game. So again, probably 7.
Yeah, Bailey Wright, clean sheet. I think those are Michael Bauer's favorite 4 words there. So, I really like what he's done. I think he's kind of taken I would say the captain role, regardless of who. Did he have it on yesterday? I can't remember who was captain yesterday.
I'd imagine Corey Evans probably still had it.
Was it? Yeah, still had it. But either way, I think he's done well. I think he's a huge reason why we're getting these clean sheets. Everything just seems more organized. That the back line really is connected, and I think it starts with him. So, yep, I would agree with the 7 there as well.
Yeah. Serkin on the other side, again, kind of playing as a centre back, and I think the kind of formation we're playing now reminds me a little bit of how Sheffield United play, in terms of you've got one centre back that will sit and just defend. You've got 2 centre backs that like to get forward, and they do get forward. You know, I think it was probably the last kick or last couple of kicks of the game where Sirkin drove forward, put a ball in the box, Stewart headed it towards goal, and obviously somehow they keep it out. You know, unbelievable save
forgot about
for
that.
a League One keeper. Always seems to happen against us in a game that we need to score, but credit to the keeper because that was an unreal save. But yeah, got forward well, put some decent balls in the box, defended fairly well. So again, probably go with 7.
Yeah, I love seeing that kind of the license to move forward. And I think you're right. It's almost like an unbalanced attack in a way because he's going up. Him and Clark have a really good partnership there now, and he's got a good amount of pace. He's got some good skill. It's it's that end product, right? There's a lot of we saw that a lot with Denver Hume, and I think he's an upgraded version. I think a younger version of what we kind of saw from Denver Hume. If going way back. But yeah, I really like what I'm seeing from Sirkin. He's playing with a lot of confidence, and we're going to need it moving forward. So as he does, he moved forward very well yesterday. So if I think has he scored yet this season, Sirkin?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Yeah, I think he's due. Because he's just getting in really good spots, and I think the more he's in those spots, if he just let it rip, let it rip. Let's see what happens. Get a deflection. That's one thing I think from all the chances we had yesterday. I just don't think we challenged the keeper enough. I think we were kind of going for those finesse shots where it's like we're just gonna go right around him or put it in the back corner for sure. But sometimes you just want to just rip it right at him. Rip it right at make him make a save, make him make a punch out, get him out of position. And I don't think we did that enough yesterday. And I think Sirkin had some opportunities. He could have just let one rip right at the goal and just kind of see what happens. So, but anyway, sorry. That I really liked the way Sirkin played yesterday.
Yeah. Corey Evans had one good chance, one very good chance, and a half chance, I suppose, with that volley in the second half. Probably should have scored the first one, like I said, but made a few okay tackles. Still a player that frustrates me a lot in games that, in any game really, because in League One, Sunderland will dominate possession. Sunderland will be expected to go forward, and there is times where he does kind of, not sure on the word, but prevent that, I suppose. But ultimately, I don't think he did too much wrong other than that chance that he should have scored. So I'd just probably go with 6.
Right, and he did have a borderline goal line clearance, but it was the one I think where Patterson made the good save, but he was completely out of position. The goal was wide open, and he was able to get stuck in and make the tackle for the deflection. But yeah, it's just I think there was one attack. I think it was going down the right hand side where we're moving forward very quickly, and he was up there as well, and he gets the ball, and instead of just turning and going upfield, he passes it back, and that's what's so frustrating is he's just kind of like a wall pass, which is fine. Sometimes you just kind of need to have that extra man there, but really what we like to see in the midfield and what we've seen from the likes of Matete or Dan Neal is you get the ball and you turn on the man immediately, and then boom, now you're joining the attack, and he just kind of kept passing it backwards. But
yeah,
defensively he did really well, and so there's a balance somewhere in the middle there, and I think that's Corey Evans to a T. It's just if he scored that goal yesterday, I think a lot of a lot of harsh words would be unsaid, but unfortunately he did not, and here we are again with the kind of frustrating result. But Corey Evans 6, you can't fault him for how he played. I think he played really well for the most part.
Yeah. Daniel back in the team didn't really do too much. I don't think. Probably should have at least hit the target in the first 5 minutes. I think it was when Roberts played into him on the edge of the box, and he's put it well over, kind of unchallenged as well. Should be doing better with that, but he didn't. So again, 6.
Yeah, he was a little anonymous yesterday, especially with how well he played when he came back on, and really some of the things he said, he really felt galvanized, and I just felt like the game just kind of went by him yesterday. I don't really remember him being involved in too much. I remember a pass kind of getting to him was just a little bit outstretched, and he would have been in. So I don't know if that was to blame the delivery or to blame kind of where he was positionally, but yeah, a little frustrating from him just because we really want to see that Daniel that we all believe, and I do think he still is a fantastic player and probably one of our best young players that we have. He was a little anonymous yesterday, so yeah, I think a 6 is fair.
Yeah. Again, very similar to Nyan. Not much else to say. 6.
Yeah, same thing. I think he was pretty anonymous as well. I just don't think maybe it was kind of the game plan to mark him out of the. I love Luca 9, I do.
Yeah.
But in a game like this yesterday, and and I know he has scored recently, but you look at the likes of Embleton who you have on the bench, and you just wonder, like, could he have made a little bit more of an impact because Luke and I just even on the physicality side or helping back defensively, I just don't remember
I
him
think
being on
I
the
like
pitch at
to go
all.
9, but I just don't think. I think he's more suited to play in a position that Evans would play. I think he's very much a box-to-box
Right.
midfielder. He can defend. He can do the hard stuff. I just don't think he has the quality in the final third to pick out a pass that Pritchard or Embleton can, or to shoot from 30 yards and find the top corner or anything like that. And it's not really a criticism of him. I just don't think he has the same quality that Pritchard does. But that said, I don't think many people do in this league.
Right, and Alex Neil still is learning. Unfortunately, he's still learning a lot of the team, right, and kind of where they're best positioned. I 100% agree. I think him in that Corey Evans role, even with the captain's armband, things like that, where he can get stuck in, he can still play box to box, would be perfect. And then having Embleton, who's excellent with both feet, who's scored really nice goals for us this season, and has also been
I think I've said it
very,
before. I
very
think the
close.
perfect midfield for Sunderland is Unai and Matete and Neil.
Right. Yep. And then attacking if we had Alex Pritchard, obviously him, but without him, I think having Embleton, who's good, who's decently physical, doesn't have a ton of pace, but excellent with both feet, excellent with set pieces as well, or I think pretty decent with set pieces. I think he would have been the better role for that, unfortunately. And yeah, O'Nien, like I said, I felt like he just kind of got lost in the game a little bit.
Yeah. We'll rattle through these last 4 pretty quickly. Linden Gooch. A few times got forward, fairly well, linked with Roberts well. But again, just a little bit of frustration in terms of when he wants to release the ball or beat his man.
Yep.
So again, 6.
Yeah, so it is very Gooch like performance. So
yeah.
I just wanted to score. He's got to get off the mark. He's just he would be one that we'd look at and say, man, if we can get him going during this stretch, just because of the way he plays and the intensity, we just got to get him off the mark somehow. So
yeah,
but yeah, 6.
Jack Clark. Again, like I've said a few times now, had some very good chances in the game that on another day probably scores, could even have had a hat-trick, I think, in the game. So again, 6.
Yeah, and like you said, if he scores any of those goals, I mean, you're looking at an 8 or 9 performance because he was that good, and and their defender too, number 20 for Lincoln was really really good. I think he was a loanee from Arsenal. If what I was reading,
I think he was the one player that I looked at from Lincoln and thought he's a player.
Yeah,
and I don't think
right,
it really come as a surprise when I found out that he was on loan from a team like Arsenal, to be honest. But
yeah. But it always just seemed like he was matched up, or him and Sturkin, like they were always kind of hitting that wall. But he did good to find space around that and still create plenty of opportunities. Just man, it's on a different day, I guess. So
yeah, Patrick Roberts, I would have to go with an 8. I think
yep.
Everything he did came off on the day. Just the things that came after that didn't come off, unfortunately. There's good pass through to Jack Clark in the second half. I think it was quite early in the second half where he beat 2 or 3 men, put a very good ball into the box towards Clark, who's put it just wide of the post again. Based off his game, I don't think there was much more he could have done. So I'd probably go with an 8.
Yeah, and I think Alex Neil put it perfectly. He's like a little magician because you'll just see him with the ball, and it's just like how did he just weave his way through 4 or 5 men there. And I think he did absolutely do enough to earn the penalty there as well. And my question is too: if we had gotten the penalty, do you think Ross Stewart still takes it, or do you think?
Definitely.
Yeah,
100%.
you think that's just designated now?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was, I'd wonder, like, man, do you think he would have tried to claim it and things like that? Because he is that type of player who really kind of feeds off of that. But I really liked what he said yesterday. He said he loves playing, for a big club, in front of the fans. And God, if we could stay up and somehow keep him, I mean, he's a class player. He's so good.
Yeah.
And it's just, we just got to get the back of the net. That's really the unfortunate side of it.
Yeah. I'm not sure staying up is the objective in this season,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Right.
But
Yeah.
last but not least, Ross
Or
Stewart.
staying up, you know what I mean. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ross Stewart, again, probably to go with 6. Only really had the one chance in the game that, again, keepers pulled off an unbelievable save towards the end of the game. Worked hard, won his fair share of headers, couple of fouls on him that weren't given in the box again. And I think he's a player that will never go down easily. And if he does go down 9 times out of 10, it's probably a foul. He doesn't seem to get much protection by referees. That said, I don't think anyone does. So I'd just go with a 6 again.
Yeah, and the header that he had to the end of the game. I mean, even he was wheeling off. He was about to go celebrate in the corner, and then he looks back, and it's just like with everyone else. And I've watched it back a few times, and I mean, the keeper was going. He was a little bit off his line, and he somehow got enough momentum backwards to get the ball. It's just I don't understand, and it's only us. And Lincoln has been that way, right? When it was bringing in an emergency lone goalkeeper who played out of his mind, and this yesterday, I know they didn't. I'm not really sure where this goalkeeper came from,
I think it's just a young goalkeeper from Lincoln. To be fair, I think they said.
Well, isn't that just the written in the stars then against us?
Yep.
But yeah, Ross Stewart did enough, and he had decent hold up play as well, but just wasn't like I said, wasn't in the cards for us, unfortunately. And 6. But yeah, good for Ross, and I hope he does actually officially get the call up. Just stay healthy. If you do get the call up, just let's please have nothing bad happen while he's on international duty, if that is the case.
Yeah. Man of the match. Don't think there's going to be any different opinions. Patrick Roberts. Think you just agree with that, to be honest.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, he was fantastic. He's just a joy to watch, really. And yeah.
Well, 2-week break now before we play Gillingham at home. Like I said, chance to get a few players back. I think Alex and Neil said there's like a friendly to be played on Monday to get a few players up to speed, and I imagine that'll include the likes of Broadhead, possibly McGeady. I think Huggins is still unlikely to be involved this season, which is a shame because I think the first few games that he played for us, he did look quite bright, playing on that kind of right side of a back 5/3. But he looks like he's going to be out for majority of the season, could possibly have some involvement in the playoffs, but I doubt it. So 2-week break to get players up to speed for that. But again, a game that we need to win, and a game that I hope we win. But what do you reckon's going to happen in that game at home with Gillingham?
I mean, I really do feel like I've said it just about every time I'm on the pod. This next game, and I even tweet it in our group chat as well. Is it's going to be the most important 90 minutes of the season. I mean, because realistically, if we don't pick up 3 points against Gillingham, I do think it's over, right? And I don't think that's hyperbolic to say. You just look at the teams around us.
You've got to depend on what the other results are, I suppose, as well. People were saying the same with us dropping points yesterday, but with the teams around us also dropping points,
I know.
The position didn't actually change.
It's true. This is true. It's just such a big opportunity because the rest of the games from moving forward, there's about 3 of the half the games where it's against bottom half, and then the other half are against playoff teams. So I think it's something along those lines. It's something pretty close there. But yeah, Gillingham, I do feel like they've been kind of a bogey team for us relatively recently. I think, though, more recently,
I'm fully prepared to do a podcast and talk about time wasting and what this, that, and the other after as well.
Is it Steve Evans? Is he the coach there?
I don't know if he's still there. I think he's left now. I think
maybe he has.
In fact, he has left because I know they brought in a different manager. And I can see him. I just can't think of his name. And I think he actually went on quite a good run when they brought him in. Can't remember his name. That's going to annoy me now. So I'm going to have a look after this. But
whoever the last coach was.
Let's have a look. I'm going to have to look now.
It was just infuriating every time. And the lasting memory of Gillingham is just the long throw-ins that I think it was during the COVID year when the season got shut down and we had them. They had 2
Neil Harris. That's it. Neil Harris.
Oh,
I think he was formerly of Millwall.
Okay. Yep. But, and luckily it's not Steven. Maybe they'll actually come out and attempt to play a match of football, unlike they have, I feel like, in the past. But no, it really does. It has to be that opportunity. I think maybe it's good that we have this little bit of a prolonged break. Get the minds right and just say, you know what, like really now this is like a mini season of itself. These last 7 games, it really is, and and hopefully it's more than 7 games as we move into playoffs. But you realistically look at it and say we'll either have 7 or 10 games, and it's up to us if we want those extra 3 games, making it into the playoffs. And yeah, it's like a little mini season of its own. So we'll see who steps up. And, I think it starts at Gillingham. I think we have another good performance or just a crap performance, but a win. I think that's going to carry us moving forward.
Points.
Yep. Just get the 3 points. Just get the 3 points, please.
Yeah. One last question for you. I did this on the last podcast, and, I might do this every week where I just think of a random question that has no relevance whatsoever. Where last week I asked, is there more wheels or doors in the world? And I think, I can't remember what people went with, but I definitely think wheels. But do you reckon there's more chairs or windows in the world? I said chairs. Because by chair, I mean like seat/chair, so that would include
Right.
football stadiums as well.
Right, yeah, because the first thing I think of is like really big office buildings, right? Where
Yeah.
there's obviously there's
Hospitals.
windows there, but right, hospital, yeah, lots of chairs. If like, would you consider like in a car, right? Those are they
Yeah,
seats? Are they
seats. Yeah,
chairs? Like, how do
yeah.
you?
I'd include them as well. But then you've got to
But
think of
there's also windows.
skyscrapers as well. Yeah,
And there's also windows in cars though as well. It's the same with the doors and wheels debacle. It's but yeah, I think probably chairs.
Yeah,
But
I would agree with
yeah,
that.
how do you have that at the same time? A lot of things could be quantified as a chair or even a window, for example. Right? There's windows of opportunity. Do you consider that a window? No, I don't know. So, anyways, yeah, but I'll go with chairs.
Yeah, I agree with that. Glad someone agreed with me this week. Anyway, we'll be back to talk about the Gillingham game in 2 weeks' time. I think we're approaching the 100th podcast. So, got 2 weeks to try and find something to do for that and find someone to talk to for that. Obviously, another reminder that tomorrow there will be another newsletter going out at 9 o'clock in the morning to your email. If you haven't signed up already, go to our Twitter at SpeakSAFC. There is a link in our bio where you can sign up for free, get all the information about the ladies team, the first team, anything happening at the club. You don't want to miss out. And like I said, it's all free and all in one place. So if you go and sign up for that, you will get an email every Monday morning, including all of that information. But until then, we will see you later.
That's all, folks.